The awakening and the gift. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of machines. A human warrior slowly opened his eyes, his body weak and heavy as if made of stone. He could feel the ache of old wounds, burns across his arms, and the faint throb in his chest where enemy blades had once cut him. He looked around, confused. White lights hung above. Clean walls stood around him. It was not the battlefield anymore. He was in a recovery chamber. His memory flashed with fire. Screams, the chaos of the last fight. Then silence. He had blacked out, but now he was awake. And he was not alone. On his side, sitting quietly on a small chair, was a figure he did not expect. She was not human. Her skin shimmered faintly with a pale silver tone. Her eyes glowed like deep violet pools. Her long hair fell over her shoulders, silky and strange. She looked fragile yet elegant. She was an alien. The warrior's heart skipped. He pushed himself upright. His voice was rough. "Who are you?" he asked, his tone sharp. The alien lowered her head. Her hands folded tightly in her lap as if afraid to speak. Finally, in broken English, she whispered, "I am your gift." The soldier froze. His blood ran cold. A gift? What did that mean? He looked at the medical machines. Then at her again. Gift from who? She did not answer. Only lowered her gaze. The door opened and a medical officer entered. A man in white uniform carrying a data pad. He smiled faintly. "You survived, soldier. Against all odds." His eyes flicked toward the alien. "And for your service, the High Command has rewarded you. This one is yours now." The warrior's fists clenched. Anger rose inside him. He was a fighter, not a master. "A slave," he muttered under his breath. "They give me a slave as a reward." The officer only shrugged. "A prize of war. A symbol of your victory." Then he left as quickly as he had come, the door sealing shut behind him. The warrior turned back to her, his jaw tight. "Is this true? Are you their prisoner?" She slowly lifted her face, her eyes filled with fear and something else. Sorrow. She nodded once, but then quickly shook her head as if fighting within herself. Her lips trembled. I do what told," she whispered. He watched her carefully. The room silent again, but deep in her eyes he saw something that unsettled him. It was not the look of a slave broken by chains. It was the look of someone hiding a secret. He leaned back against the bed, his body aching but his mind racing. He had fought aliens for years, seen them as enemies, monsters, but now one sat beside him, given like a trophy. Yet she looked nothing like a monster. She looked human in her pain. Time passed, the silence heavy. Finally he asked, "What is your name?" She hesitated, then whispered, "Lyra." The word rolled softly off her tongue. "Lyra," he repeated, the sound strange in his mouth. Her eyes flicked toward him. Startled that he spoke it, he studied her closer. The small tremor in her hands, the way her gaze darted to the locked door, the way she shifted like someone waiting for danger. This was no simple slave. Something was wrong. Suddenly, a faint sound buzzed from the wall, almost too quiet to hear. The warrior turned his head sharply. It was like a hidden signal, a pulse of coded noise. The alien froze when she heard it. Her eyes wide, she clutched her hands tighter. The warrior narrowed his eyes. "You know that sound." "Don't you?" he said slowly. Lyra did not answer, but her silence was enough. The warrior leaned forward, ignoring the pain in his chest, his voice low but firm. "Are you here to spy on me? Are you here to kill me?" She shook her head quickly, fear flashing across her face. "No, no kill, no hurt," she said, her voice breaking. "Please." Trust, but could he trust her? She was alien, enemy, and yet her voice trembled like someone desperate, not dangerous. He felt torn. His duty screamed at him to call the guards, to report her, but something deeper whispered inside him. What if she was more than what they told him? The hum returned again, that secret signal, and her eyes flicked once more, too quick to hide. The warrior's suspicion grew heavier. He knew one truth. This alien slave, this so-called gift, was not what she seemed. The soldier closed his eyes for a moment, his breathing slow, then he whispered to himself, "This is not a reward, this is a test." Lyra lowered her head again. Silent, but a single tear slid down her cheek. The warrior did not know it yet, but this moment, this awakening, was the beginning of a choice that would change his fate forever. And outside the room, in the shadows of the command decks, someone was already watching, waiting to see how the human warrior would treat the gift he had been given. Whispers of betrayal. The warrior could not sleep that night. The hum of the secret signal still echoed in his mind. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the alien girl, Lyra, sitting quietly in the corner. Her violet eyes filled with something between fear and hope. He wanted to believe her, But soldiers were trained never to trust the enemy. He turned on the bed and whispered into the dark, "Why are you here, really?" At first, no answer. But then her soft voice came, "I cannot tell." His eyes narrowed. "Cannot or will not?" She looked down, clutching the thin blanket around her. "If I tell, you die, I die." Her words struck like a blade. The soldier sat up, his heartbeat rising. What secret was she carrying that could kill them both? The next morning, whispers spread across the ship. The crew watched him differently. They had seen the alien girl walking beside him to the mess hall. Some sneered, others whispered behind his back. Traitor. Enemy lover. The words hissed through the air like poison. The warrior ignored them, but he knew. Trust in him was breaking. Later that day, his old comrade Captain Drell came to see him, a scarred veteran with sharp eyes. "They gave you a prize," Drell said coldly. "But it looks more like a leash." "A leash," the warrior repeated, confused. Drell leaned closer, lowering his voice. "Command is watching. They want to see if you break, or if you stay loyal. That alien is not a gift. She is bait." The warrior's stomach twisted. So his suspicion was right. This was a test, maybe even a trap that night. He confronted Lyra again, his voice harsh. "What signal are you answering? I heard it." "Don't lie to me." Her hands shook. Her lips trembled. "Not enemy, not trap," she whispered. "I must hide truth, but truth will come." The warrior grabbed her wrist, not hard but firm, his eyes burning into hers. "If you lie to me again, I will throw you to command myself." Her breath caught, her violet eyes wet with tears. She whispered one word that made him freeze. "Sister," the warrior blinked. "What did you say?" "My sister," Lyra whispered again. "She sends signal. She search me if they find." "All end." The soldier let go of her wrist, stunned. So the hidden signal was from another alien. Her sister. Was she trying to rescue Lyra? Or something darker? The next morning, alarms blared. Red lights flashed across the halls. An encrypted message had been intercepted by the ship's scanners. The source was close, too close. Soldiers rushed into the recovery wing, weapons ready. The warrior stepped in front of Lyra, his instincts screaming to protect her even while his mind shouted it was madness. The guards shouted, "Move aside, she is sending codes to the enemy." He looked at Lyra. She shook her head desperately. "Not enemy, not enemy." The guards raised their rifles, fingers on triggers, his own comrades ready to shoot the girl who sat trembling behind him. In that split second, the warrior made a choice. He raised his hand and blocked their line of fire. "Nobody shoots," he growled, his voice like steel. The guards hesitated, shocked. "Are you defending her?" "Soldier." He locked eyes with them. "Yes, because if you kill her, you kill our only chance to know the truth." Silence spread through the hall. Tension thick as chains, the guards slowly lowered their rifles. But their eyes burned with suspicion. Whispers of betrayal grew louder. Later, in secret, Lyra spoke to him with tears in her eyes. "You risk all for me." Why, the warrior did not answer at first, then said quietly, "Because you are not lying. And I need to know what you are hiding." She leaned closer, her voice shaking but fierce. "If I tell you, human, you will never see your leaders the same again." Her words sank deep into his mind, and in that moment he knew. This was not about reward or slavery. This was about secrets that could shatter empires. The path ahead was dangerous, and already he felt the shadows of betrayal circling him. But he could not turn back, not anymore. The whispers were no longer just in the halls. They were in his own heart, whispering that the enemy he had been given as a slave might be the only one he could trust. The hidden mission. The night was heavy with silence. The warrior sat awake on the edge of his bed, the words of Lyra echoing in his mind. "If I tell you, you will never see your leaders the same again." He had fought wars, seen blood, watched men die screaming, but nothing had ever made his heart pound like those words. He wanted to drag the truth out of her, yet some part of him feared it. Lyra sat near the corner, her violet eyes reflecting the dim light, her hands gripping something hidden under the folds of her clothing. The warrior noticed her secret clutch. "What are you hiding?" he demanded. She froze, then slowly unwrapped a small device, a thin crystal glowing faintly with alien markings. She held it close to her chest as if it was life itself. The warrior stood towering over her. "What is that?" Her voice trembled. "A key." "To truth?" He frowned. "Truth about what?" Her eyes met his, and for the first time she did not look afraid. She looked fierce. "Truth about your war, human. Truth about who controls it." His breath caught. "Explain," she hesitated. then pressed the crystal to the wall. The device hummed and projected an image into the air. A map of stars, fleets, and hidden pathways lit the room in eerie light. The warrior's eyes widened. He saw human ships, alien ships, battles marked across galaxies. But then he saw something worse. Symbols of a third power, a shadow empire manipulating both sides. "What is this?" he whispered. Lyra's voice was low but steady. "Your leaders and my leaders are not true masters. They are puppets controlled by the Council, a hidden order older than your species. They create wars to keep us weak, to keep us blind." The warrior shook his head. "No, that is impossible." She stepped closer, her eyes burning. "Is it human? Think, why does your war never end? Why do victories bring no peace? Because they never want peace. They want control." His fists clenched. The truth clawed at his mind. Memories of battles that made no sense. Missions that ended in slaughter for no reason. Perhaps she was right. Perhaps they had all been pawns before he could speak. The door hissed open and Captain Drell entered, his sharp eyes narrowing at the sight of the glowing map. "So it's true," he growled. The warrior turned, startled. "You knew?" Drell's face twisted. "I suspected, that's why I came, but seeing this, you've crossed a line, soldier. You are harboring a spy." Lyra hid the device behind her, fear returning to her face. The warrior stepped in front of her instinctively, his voice hard. "She is not a spy, she carries proof." "Proof of what they hide from us," Drell sneered. "Proof or poison, it doesn't matter. Command will never allow this to spread, hand her over, or you will face charges of treason." The warrior's chest burned with conflict. This was his comrade, his friend, but now the blade of choice was at his throat. Betray Lyra and stay loyal, or protect her and become the traitor they already whispered he was. He looked back at Lyra, her violet eyes shining with silent plea. Trust me, in that moment the warrior made his choice. He grabbed the device from her hands and held it high. "If you want her, you will have to go through me." Drell's hand went to his weapon. The tension crackled in the air, but before either could act, the ship's alarms blared again. A voice on the intercom shouted, "Unidentified fleet detected." Closing fast, the warrior's blood chilled. Lyra whispered, "It is them. The Shadow Empire, they come." Her words hit like thunder. The truth was no longer just whispers or theories. It was here, real and deadly. The warrior knew one thing. His life was no longer about loyalty or duty. It was about survival, about fighting for truth that could burn entire empires to the ground. And standing beside him was the alien girl once given as a slave, now revealed as the key to the galaxy's darkest secret. The Forbidden Alliance. The alarms shook the ship like a heartbeat of fear. Red lights flashed across every corridor. Soldiers ran past with weapons ready. Voices shouted orders that drowned in chaos. The human warrior stood frozen for a moment, the alien map still glowing faintly in his hand. Lyra at his side and Captain Drell staring at him with fury. "This is your fault," Drell hissed. "You brought her secret here. And now the enemy has found us." The warrior's jaw tightened. He shoved the device into his belt and barked back. "No, they were coming anyway. You're too blind to see it," she warned us. "And now it's here." Lyra gripped his arm, her voice urgent. "We must run if they capture me." "The truth dies." Drell's eyes narrowed, his weapon raised. "Run where, traitor?" "There is nowhere to go." The warrior moved fast, his instincts sharper than thought. He swung his arm and knocked Drell's weapon aside. The shot fired into the ceiling, sparks raining down before Drell could recover. The warrior punched him hard, sending him crashing to the floor. He stood over his old comrade, his voice raw. "Forgive me, but I cannot follow blind orders anymore." Then he turned to Lyra. "Let's go." They ran through the ship's twisting halls, alarms blaring. Soldiers staring in shock as the decorated warrior sprinted past with an alien girl at his side. Whispers of betrayal now turned into shouts. "Stop them! Stop him!" But the warrior did not stop. His heart pounded like war drums. He felt the weight of his choice, the burden of rebellion beginning in his chest. They reached the lower decks, where shadows covered leaking pipes and abandoned storage rooms. Lyra pressed a panel on the wall, her crystal device glowing once again, and a hidden door slid open, revealing a secret crawl tunnel. The warrior stared. "You knew this place," she nodded quickly. "Your ship was built with alien hands long ago. We leave traces, back doors always." They crawled inside, the walls tight, darkness pressing around them. The warrior's breath came hard, his wounds aching, but he pushed forward. Following the faint glow of her crystal after long minutes, they emerged into a forgotten chamber deep in the ship. Old crates stacked high, dust heavy in the air. Lyra turned to him, her voice soft but strong. Now you must choose. Human, if you stay with me, you fight your leaders. You fight your own people, but you fight for truth. His chest tightened. He looked at her. The girl once given to him as a slave, now standing before him as an ally against empires. And if I don't, he asked, her eyes dimmed, then I die, and your people remain slaves to lies. The warrior clenched his fists. Memories of battle roared in his head, the faces of fallen comrades. The endless war with no meaning, perhaps all of it had been designed. A cruel game by powers in the dark. He lifted his chin, his voice steady. Then I choose, I will fight with you. Lyra's violet eyes shone with tears and fire. Then we are bound, human, not master and slave, but allies. Suddenly the chamber shook violently. The ship rocked as blasts hammered its hull. Enemy fleets had arrived. The Shadow Empire was here. The warrior grabbed a rifle from one of the crates. Its weight familiar and steady in his hands, he glanced at Lyra. If we are bound, then let us begin. But before they could move, a voice echoed from the shadows of the chamber, cold and merciless. So it is true, the great soldier betrays his own. For an alien slave, the warrior spun, his rifle raised from the dark-stepped Commander Varine, the officer of officers, the man who had once trained him, his face like carved stone, his eyes filled with disgust. You were a hero, Varine said slowly, his words cutting like knives. But now you are a traitor, and traitors have only one end. He pointed his weapon at Lyra, his finger tightening on the trigger. The warrior moved instinctively, stepping in front of her. His voice thundered, if you want her, you will have to kill me first. The chamber fell into silence. 3 lives tangled in one deadly moment. The forbidden alliance had been made, and now blood would decide its fate. The choice that changed everything. The chamber was silent except for the hum of machines and the distant thunder of explosions shaking the ship. The human warrior stood with his rifle raised, his body between Lyra and Commander Varine. Varine's eyes were cold as iron, his voice sharp. Step aside, soldier. Hand over the alien and you will still die a hero. Refuse, and you die a traitor. The warrior's heart pounded. Sweat rolled down his temple. He had once sworn loyalty to men like Varane. He had once believed in their orders. But now he had seen the map, the hidden truth, the lies that chained them all. He glanced back at Lyra, her violet eyes filled with fear but also trust. She whispered softly, whatever you choose. Choose as a free man. His chest tightened. The words cut through the noise in his mind. For the first time, he felt the weight of freedom. Not command, not duty, just his own will. Varine stepped forward, his weapon aimed steady. Decide now, he barked. The warrior's voice came low but firm. Then I decide. He lifted his rifle. Not at Lyra, not at himself, but at Varine. A single shot cracked through the chamber. Sparks burst. Varine staggered back, eyes wide in disbelief. Blood spreading across his chest, he fell to the ground. The echo of his body hitting the floor like the fall of an empire. Silence followed, broken only by Lyra's sharp breath. She stared at the warrior, whispering, you chose me. He lowered his rifle slowly, his voice steady but heavy. No, I chose the truth. The ship shuddered again as another blast rocked its hull. The Shadow Empire's fleet was tearing through defenses. Alarms screamed across every deck. Soldiers shouted orders with no command left to guide them. The warrior turned to Lyra. We cannot stay here. Show me how to stop them. She held up the crystal device, its glow brighter than before. This carries codes. Codes to open their network, but only with your help. Human systems and alien systems must work together. They rushed to the core chamber, the heart of the ship, sparks flying from broken panels, wounded soldiers on the ground. Some looked up at the warrior with shock. Whispers spreading. He fights with the alien, but there was no time. The warrior slammed his hand onto the human console. Lyra pressed the crystal into the alien port. Lights surged. The ship groaned as if alive. A new signal burst into space. Outside, the Shadow Empire's ships staggered. Their formation broke, their weapons faltered. The codes were tearing through their systems like fire in dry wood. The crew gasped. Their enemies were falling back. For the first time, the Shadow Empire was on the run. The warrior stood tall, his chest heaving. Lyra by his side. She whispered, we did it together. But he knew it was only the beginning. He looked around at the faces of his comrades, some filled with awe, others with hatred. They will call me traitor, he said quietly. Lyra touched his arm, her voice soft. Or they will call you the first free human in a long time. Suddenly, the intercom crackled. Voices from command screaming, warrior, you will answer for this. You have betrayed your oath. He looked up at the ceiling, his voice steady. "No, I broke chains you put on us, and I will never bow again." The chamber fell into silence once more. But not empty silence, it was the silence of change. The human warrior had made his choice. A forbidden alliance forged in fire, and in that moment a new rebellion was born. A rebellion that would spread through the stars. Carried by whispers of a soldier who rejected slavery, rejected lies, and stood with an alien once given as his prize. The choice had changed everything, and the galaxy would never be the same.